Here we go. All right, we're live.
Okay, we are live. All right. I apologize for our late start. We did have some technical difficulties. I will call to order the regular meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education. We are meeting in the boardroom at the City Hall due to disruption of non-mask wearers. So we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance led by our student board member.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now observe a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Item number 1, adoption of agenda. Any changes?
No changes.
And we will move right into first grade. First spot will sit probably over here to the routine. I'm sorry. I got the wrong agenda.
I was just gonna.
But thank you for responding so quickly to my inappropriate recommendation.
Let's go to approval.
Minutes and changes.
We're on YouTube. I think they're posted in the address on the WebEx.
Which our guests will appreciate. And first, we'll go to Dr. Ostash, presentation of board members Scott and Rockwell for their years. of
Yes,
service.
the first presentation is just that. I'm sorting through my things. And I'll start with Mr. Rockwell. Got a certificate here that came from the County Office of Education that states Certificate of Recognition and Appreciation awarded to Kurt Rockwell, trustee of the Sierra Sands Unified School District, 2006 through 2021 for 15 years of distinguished service in behalf of public education in California and the schools of Kern County. And it's signed by Dr. Mary Barlow, our elected county superintendent of schools, and Ronald Froelich, who is our Kern County Board of Education president. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Then we have for Mr. Mike Scott. By the way, I have a note here from Dr. Barlow that ordinarily this would have been handed out at the annual dinner or semi-annual dinner, but since that was held virtually, we'll do it this way. And this is a plaque. It says, in recognition and appreciation of Michael Scott, trustee of the Sierra Sands Unified School District, 1996 to 2021, for 25 years of distinguished service on behalf of public education in California and the schools of Kern County, and also signed by Dr. Barlow and Ron Froelich.
I didn't know you were playing.
And let's see, that concludes my presentation.
We have the, yes, we do. Good. And we will move to public hearings. Mr. Auld, conduct a public hearing on the adoption of resolution number 13/2122 regarding short-term employees and specified service between November 19, 2021 and August 2nd, 2022.
President Ferris, Superintendent Ostash, staff. Education Code Section 45103, Subdivision D2 authorizes the district to employ short-term classified employees to provide service to the district that, upon the completion of that service or similar service, will not be extended or needed on a continuing basis. Prior to employing a short-term employee, the Board of Education at a regular scheduled meeting must specify the service to be performed by the employee exceed 75% or 195 working days of the school year. The district has a need for a short-term administrative secretary confidential in the Human Resources Department to perform COVID-19 related duties that include but are not limited to contact tracing for school sites and county COVID-19 reports. The short-term employee is needed between November 19, 2021 and August 2nd, 2022. The services or similar services performed by the short-term employee will not be extended or needed on a continuing basis. Financial implications, the amount is not to exceed $30,000 and will be paid for from the SR3 grant funding. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution 13/2122 regarding a short-term employee to perform specified services between November 19th, 2021 and August 2nd, 2022.
We will open the public hearing, and if Mr. Court, if you can open the door and see if we have anybody wishing to address this public hearing. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and we will move to item 2, public hearing on resolution number 14/2122, approval to establish temporary.
We're conducting a public hearing on temporary employment for classified. Well, shut up for a minute, you can hear me. Let's stay out there.
Good.
So mine's 11-1.
You don't have 4.1 public hearing on resolution number 14/2122?
You have 4.2. You have 4.2. And then 11.
That's all right.
I-
We're just a
I
little
am
shuffled.
Here.
I appreciate you doing that just to make me not look so bad for my area.
Well, no, I'm not doing it. I don't have him. Thank you.
Diane, are we supposed to vote on the public hearing, or is that later?
I don't believe this is a public hearing.
Conduct a public hearing and adopt the resolution.
Okay, then we're just rocking and rolling. See, Pam, it wasn't you at all.
Thank you.
You were waiting for me to call for the vote. I understand that. All right, then I will call for the vote. We'll have to do it roll call.
We need a motion.
And
A motion?
did we do the hearing?
Yes, we did.
We did it.
No, this is on the first one, not the second.
Oh, the first.
Yes, sir.
Recommended action? Second.
All right. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Motion and a second, and I'll call for the roll call vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Dr. Howe?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Makes it unanimous. Now we go to Ms. Smith with the public hearing for resolution number 14/2122, approval to establish temporary money transfer.
Thank you. So temporary interfund borrowing of cash is permitted by Education Code sections 42603, 603.1, and SSUSD Board Policy 3110. Traditionally, the governing board of a school district may direct monies held in any fund be temporarily transferred to another fund for payment of obligated 21-22 fiscal year. To utilize this flexibility, we have to pass a resolution authorizing the temporary transfer of cash between funds. Prior to adopting the resolution, the board must conduct a properly noticed public hearing at a regularly scheduled meeting for transfer fiscal year 21-22.
Okay, so let's comment on this item. And we won't. And the first report.
So first is Murray Hard and took second place in the tournament. This was a great season for Murray volleyball. The Murray/Monroe cross-country team ended the season strong with multiple wins as well as many personal records and course records. We are gearing up for basketball and all of our teams are set. We look forward to starting the season after Thanksgiving break. Our music programs are getting ready for their winter concert on December 14th. ASB has been very active with Friday activities and spirit days like Camo Day last Friday for Veterans Day. We had a great dance on Halloween grade, met or exceeded standards, and 80% of our 8th grade met or exceeded standards. This meant only a small portion of our students needed intervention. This is great news. We are also piloting next is Monroe Middle School. In the spirit of giving, and BSU Club have been undertaking a non-perishable food drive for the local needy families in the community. Students are encouraged to drop supplies off to room 41, or parents can drop them off in the front office. ASB continues to create funds for the students with spirit days like blankets and buddies last week and a Catch the Turkey class competition this Friday. ASB is also working up the finishing touches to release a theme for the Win and Dance. Both volleyball and cross-country seasons have finished, and some teams are finishing their final banquet/awards ceremonies in the coming weeks. Cross-country performances were free. throughout the season, and volleyball could be exemplified by the 8th grade girls finishing as reigning champions at the last Syracuse Community College tournament. Basketball tryouts were a huge success this month, with more than 50 students vying for positions on the 6/7th grade boys team. It looks like there was a lot of talent and hard work demonstrated, and they're putting it to the test in the following weeks as they prepare for their first games in January. The book fair will be on campus for the week after Thanksgiving, November 29th to December 3rd. Make sure your students come by to see what exciting options are available for our avid young readers. Only a couple weeks left in the semester, so students are using homework help, advisory interventions, and science fair club to squeeze in some final preparations. Go Tigers. Next is Mesquite High School. We had 3 students graduate this past month at Mesquite. This makes a total of 6 so far this year. The last week of October, we had a week full of spirit days, ending with a Halloween barbecue/carnival, a costume contest, cornhole competition, cakewalk, ping pong tournament, pumpkin decoration, and many other fun events were part of the festival. Last Thursday, we had 12 students take the Asvab Test, which is an aptitude assessment that reveals the students' strengths in order to explore career options. We also had our end of the first quarter community assembly where we honored students who had excellent GPAs, attendance, and great citizenship. Lastly is Burroughs High School. Burroughs submitted second quarter progress checks 2 weeks ago. Homecoming week in October was full of spirit days, float building, powder puff practices, and other rally week activities. The outdoor homecoming dance was exciting and fun for the students as they danced under the stars. The Scary Music concert occurred on October 27th, where the orchestra Murray, Monroe, and Burroughs played music and wore costumes. Sadly, there was no attendance, but the music was recorded and sent out to parents. The following Saturday, we had another successful SAT testing. Music and art classes have been busy. November 8th, the band went on a field show exhibition. Yesterday, there was a gathering where music, a display of visual art from the also performed music from a variety of cultures at the Culture Fest event in the multi-purpose in the South Patio at the MPR. Art students created masks that were on display. The restaurant career students provided a variety of cuisines. Girls tennis and cross country are finishing up their seasons with amazing results. Girls tennis won their league with an undefeated record. Cross country, both girls and boys qualified for Team CIF. Fall sports are slowly ending as winter sports like soccer, wrestling, and basketball start up. The Parker Performing Arts Center is open again after years of renovation. The first play, The 12 Angry Jurors, was performed on November 5th, 6th, 12th, and 13th. Tomorrow we have another Spirit Day called Y2K Day, when students dress like they're in the early 2000s. We hope everyone has a relaxing break, and we are thankful for all our staff and students.
Thank you so much. And you're welcome to stay for the fun if you'd like, but we certainly understand if you would prefer to leave us this evening.
Take that off.
Now, number 2, reports from members of the board. Any board members would like to make any comments?
I got to go to the play, and I enjoyed spending time there with Mr. Ferris opening night. It was neat to be able to be in the pack the first time that it's opened up. As we discussed, they're usually musicals, and really to see it as a play and watch the students do a good job and clearly a lot of fun with it. It was really neat to be able to be a part of that. They did a great job. Thank you, Ms. Poole, for bringing that to our community.
Anyone else? I just want to make a similar comment that in the last month, I've been able to attend football games, the play, the performing arts, and last night the culture event, including music presentations, and it's just heartwarming to see the kids returning to some areas of normalcy. We know it's not what, but we also know that in order to achieve and as attentive as we can to make sure that we're keeping people safe, both our employees and our students. And I want to recognize how difficult that is on everybody. We're talking parents, we're talking staff, we're talking teachers, we're talking administrators. It's been a very tough assignment, and folks have really risen to the challenge for the sake of our kids. And that's our purpose here, to provide those educational opportunities to our kids. And I believe we need to continue to try to do everything we can to maintain those opportunities. We've gone the extra mile to see that that happens. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Speaking of keeping our students active and our athletes and performers, appreciate Darren and Candace for hanging out with us and just being resilient through the beginning here. But I wanted to acknowledge Hensel Phelps and a number of other contractors who banded together and really did something really significant for our district and for our programs. Hensel Phelps donated what's worth $17,500 for new uprights, touchdown uprights for the football field that will make it a much safer and a more pleasant looking experience. Also, team benches down on the field that help all of our different athletic programs that use the field. ECC, the company ECC, donated $7,000 to get those in place. And then also several businesses combined together to purchase new soccer goals that are worth $9,000. HPS Mechanical donated $2,500. Berg Electric, $2,500. ACCO Engineering, $2,500, and also Tenco Sheet Metal Incorporated, $1,500. But I also have a certificate of appreciation specifically to Hensel Phelps Construction Company for 2021 by the Board of Education of Sierra Sands Unified School District. And appreciate all of the efforts that not only that you made as a company, but also in banding together and getting other folks to combine to really make a huge difference for our athletes. So I actually have this certificate, and then Mr. Roll, if you don't mind, I've got a bag of spirit gear there. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Like hats and shirts, and you guys are just either you guys wear it or distribute it to folks who might appreciate it. But we have a number of things that Michelle Lazaro had put together for you guys. All right, so thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for bearing with us this evening.
No worries. We thought we were lost.
You made it.
We made it. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you.
And a very sad note, I also want to report to the board and those who are listening that we did lose a couple of our own students in our school district. The untimely passing of a senior student from Mesquite High School and a junior student from Burroughs High School. Extend our deepest and our heartfelt sympathy and condolences to their families and classmates, and teachers, and community. There's really nothing more tragic for us than to lose any of our own students. Ask that you keep these families and loved ones in your thoughts and prayers. And we have great staff who've been maintaining close contact and ongoing contact with the families, and we're working to support them in this very difficult time, as we always do. In cases that are emergent like this, we deployed grief counselors and shared resources from other sites to make sure there was more than adequate support at Mesquite and Burroughs as they work through this tragic time. And I just wanted to let you know that we'll continue to support these families. In fact, I believe in the coming days there may be some more information about how we can very specifically help the families in this time of need. So I just wanted to report that to the board. Moving to a couple other reports, our attendance report, our month 2 enrollment is 5,023 students. Last year this time we were at 4,917, and so we're up 106 students. Up a few students on our long-term independent study program. We're at 122. And as I have been reporting to the board and the community at these regular meetings, a little bit of COVID information so far for the 21-22 school year. There's been, although very recently we have received information from the County of Kern and County Department of Public Health that the trend's going in the right direction for Kern County. the information I have to report as kind of a look back over this last month would definitely indicate that there has been an experience of COVID in the Indian Wells Valley. And I sincerely hope that as the county trend has indicated lately, that will be the trend for us in the next month. But staff members who have tested positive for COVID, whereas I indicated 10 in our previous report last month, and we've had 23 more since then. So for a total of 33 this year. That's for staff. Students who have been on or 33 this year. That's for staff. Students who have been on or have been or are on quarantine study contracts, I reported 239 in previous report last month, 519 more since then. So that's a total of 758. It's a really difficult number to describe because it represents tremendous extra work for our faculty. And that's a huge challenge for us. The extra work really, we believe, is required because that is one of our main mitigation. That's what we really have control over as a district, is managing that contact tracing and getting students in a position where, well, we're less likely to transmit COVID. And so it's a lot of work, and it's really exhausting for our faculty and staff. But I wanted to report that. And then students positive, students. So, and of course, one of our safety mitigation strategies is testing students. And students who are positive at site for the contact tracing, whereas we had 21 in the previous report last month, we've had 42 more since then for a total of 63. So those are not numbers that any of us would take pleasure in hearing, but I wanted to report the facts to you. And we really hope that as we maintain our vigilance and we continue to work exhaustively as a faculty and staff, that those numbers will still here. I did want to highlight that on October 19, the ladies tennis team defeated Apple Valley to win the Mojave River League championship. And Hannah Osterman, our own student board member, finished first in league and went undefeated this season. And I should say that in her last 3 seasons combined, her total record is 88-2, which is really amazing. And because Hannah was #1 in league and was the player of the year, she moves on as the #1 single player in her division and plays this month on the 22nd at the Claremont Country Club. So go Hannah. Speaking of athletics, I actually wanted to highlight something that's a real affirmation of our schools and our school community. And that is our athletic director, Michelle Lazaro, has maintained for several years a database of what our team GPAs are. And since she started tracking this over the last several years, we have our highest team academic excellence year ever with a fall 0.36. With some of the leaders, the girls tennis team had a 3.63. They were the highest team average. The volleyball team 3.55, and all the other teams had great GPAs as well. But so the average was 3.36, which is, like I said, the highest average we've had since she's collected this data. And so when you think about the backdrop of the challenges we hear about locally and across the nation about learning loss and the reassimilation of students into the classroom, and some of the numbers we've seen, some data trends as far as lower GPAs and lower achievement levels, it's really gratifying to see that in our school district, and as in this case, all of our athletes, I think, are emblematic of other groups and other student activities, and to see that is really, really neat. And of course, as everyone mentioned, I also was able to attend. I took my daughter and some of her friends to the 12 Angry Jurors last weekend, and I'm actually grateful Ms. Poole is allowing me to come by tomorrow around the lunchtime and personally compliment all of the actors. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. They did a great job. And I think that concludes my report, Mr. Ferris.
Thank you, Dr. Ostesh. That brings us to item 4, report to the Board of Trustees for the Desert Area Teachers Association.
I'm just staying right here.
You may.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Ferris, Superintendent Ostash, board and colleagues in community. I wasn't here last month. I almost didn't come tonight because my grandson was born and his mom just showed up at my house and he's 6 weeks old and he weighs like almost 13 pounds. So I left partly to get a break. So yeah, I'm still I've been holding him.
Congratulations.
Totally worn out. As I was sitting here and thinking about what I wanted to say, which happens a lot, and I always pay attention because I figure something it's trying to tell me. And while I do love Hamilton, I felt this I had to write it down. So it's a line from Hamilton. I feel it's really how a lot of us manned, outnumbered, outplanned, and I'm going to need a right-hand man. And I feel that a lot of us right now in the classroom are kids every single day. So I'm going to continue with this metaphor. And we are definitely volunteers, but we're tired. And Dr. Ostash, you just pointed out, this rising case, we're the ones, we're feeling it. Everyone's overworked, and you all know that because a lot of you are filling in places you never thought you'd be again. But the teachers are there every day, every single day, day after day, and our job keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. And we have some really fabulous principals at our site, and we have really terrific people in the district. I'm genuinely happy to tell people where I work. I have this amazing district. And I know individually I've had a lot of positive interactions and relationships with y'all. However, as a group, it's not fabulous. The expertise that we have, that we teachers have, that my colleagues have, we feel is routinely ignored. That drumbeat of testing never, ever, ever ceases. We're in the classroom with kids that have serious behavioral problems because of what's going on in our community and in our world. And that drumbeat never stops. And you can ask any teacher right now, how are your students doing? And they're going to tell you. And they're going to tell you because they're professional, because they care, because they see these kids day after day, and because they have data. Because we are every day checking in with these kids and finding out how they're doing academically and emotionally. We have the data. And no one seems to care about the data that we have, and it's real. It's been an exhausting year. And the first semester is almost over, and we don't expect the second semester to be any easier. But most of us are going to be here for it. Not all of us. Some of my colleagues are talking about, am I still in the right place? Is this still where I want to be? And we love it. We love seeing those kids, and we get excited working with them. We're going through our stuff, and they're going through theirs. And I think that it's time. We want to know that we're being heard. We'd like to have our professionalism recognized and our humanity recognized, and we have before. We're doing it happily, and we're doing it well. And we'd like to have something that proves to us that y'all are recognizing it, that you see what we're doing. We want you to be our right-hand man in a sense. So appreciate being here and getting to say this. Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to item 5, report to the Board of Trustees by the California School Employees Association. Do we have a representative? Thank you. 5, report to the Board of Trustees by the California School Employees Association. Do we have a representative? Thank you. Maybe if you could come down this end so the camera can pick you up as well.
Hoping to stay in the shot.
Young lady.
Okay, hello, school board president, board members, superintendent Dr. Ostash, staff, and community. CSEA's negotiating team is eager to continue on our successor contract. We have a date set for our next meeting, which is on November 29th. We hope to be able to put some work into our pay scale as it has begun to collapse due to the increase of minimum wage over the last 3 to 4 years and not having any pay raises on our pay scale except where the minimum wage cells are. The fact that ranges 10 through 19 all make the same amount is not fair to our employees who have worked for the district for some time and only make a couple dollars more than the new hires. Our longevity is going out the window. And our members are feeling discouraged. Our classified members are feeling overworked with our short staff predicament and way underpaid for their workload. With the rising cost of healthcare premiums, that's an added burden onto our members who are already not getting the pay they deserve. As you're aware, the membership voted on the recruitment and retention MOU. It was not ratified, and the membership feels that the retention portion would be better off used to help align our pay scale with other comparable districts' salary scale. We are excited to continue to work with the district on new possible options for healthcare plans. We have begun to look at other options for insurance to possibly help lower the cost on our members and working towards a solution for better pay.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6, communications from the public. We have 2 methods to communicate this evening. I'm going to see if we have any written communications, and if not, we will allow anyone who would like to come and address the board for the 3 minutes to do so, as long as they mask and one at a time. See no one waiting. See if there are any written communications. Thank you. Communications from the public, and move to item 6, education administration. Decker, approval of handheld laser welding and cleaning system for metals 1, 2, and 3 courses at Burroughs High School.
Looks like no.
You're good.
Thank you.
John.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want us to hold, or?
No, I'll be right back.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Ostash, staff and community. Career Technical Education, CTE, is a program of study that involves a multi-year sequence of courses that integrates core academic knowledge with technical and occupational knowledge to provide students a pathway to post-secondary education and careers. Burroughs currently offers 7 different CTE pathways. One of the pathways is welding and materials joining, which consists of 3 classes, Metal 1, Metal 2, and Metal 3. The Career Technical Education Incentive Grant, or CTIG, is a grant established as a state education, economic, and workforce development initiative to provide pupils in kindergarten through grade 12 with the knowledge and skills necessary to transition to employment and post-secondary education. California Education Code Section 53070A states the purpose of this program is to encourage, maintain, and strengthen the delivery of high-quality career technical education programs. In 2021, Sierra Sands applied for and received a CTIG for $201,079. The welding and materials joining pathway is in need of a new piece of equipment. The LightWeld 1500 XC handheld laser welding and cleaning system is cutting-edge technology and will become the standard for small to mid-grade fabrication. Capital outlay, which is defined as any single item of $5,000 or more, requires California Department of Education approval prior to the purchase. Purchases must meet the following requirements. They have to be directly related to CTE program approved for assistance in the LEA's local plan. They have to be intended to improve, enhance, or expand the CTE program. They have to be necessary and reasonable for proper and efficient administration of the CTE program. They have to add to the district's historical inventory system, and they have to be specific to the CTE program as opposed to a general expense required to carry out the agency's overall responsibility inventory system. And they have to be specific to the CTE program as opposed to a general expense required to carry out the agency's overall responsibilities. The CDE for this particular piece has been approved, and we've got the approval. The cost of the laser welding gun, workpiece clamp, 4 welding nozzle tips, 5 cover slides, welding helmet with IR shield, laser safety glasses, the Cat6 Ethernet cable, the getting started guide, the high frequency pulsed laser mode, the 2500 power wide scan field for high-speed coverage, the weld head nozzle cleaning attachment with 3 tips, and ProSet cleaning mode software is $24,160 and will be funded out of the CTIC. It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of the handheld laser welding and cleaning system for Burroughs High School welding and materials joining CTE pathway as presented.
Move recommended action.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Looks like that's a no.
Tim was saying something?
Tim, did you have a comment?
I was getting ready to say aye.
Okay. Oh, you done gave your vote away now. All right, then we will take a vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Howe?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. That makes it unanimous. That brings us to item 2, approval of commercial grade CO2 laser engraver and cutter for introduction to engineering principles of engineering and digital electronics courses at Burroughs High School.
I'm not going to reread the background because it is the same. And this is, like he said, for a different pathway. This is for our engineering technology pathway, engineering and digital electronics. And so obviously the engineering technology pathway is in need of a new piece of equipment. The laser engraver and cutter are tailored to users in different industries. The profile cast by the high precision mold has high strength, high stability mechanical structure, stable numerical control movement, and high speed. The design concept of front-to-back penetration of the machine body can facilitate front-to-back feeding and is suitable for processing unlimited length workpieces. The advanced industrial cooling system and automatic protection function without water alarm have improved the stability and safety of continuous work. The perfect dust-proof and anti-pollution design greatly improves the stability of the whole machine. Optical fittings use the highest quality imported mirrors and focusing mirrors with the highest reflectivity and transmittance among similar fittings, thinner facula, and stronger cutting force. And again, this is a piece of capital outlay, so of course CDE approval is required, has to meet the same requirements I've mentioned before. We have already obtained CDE approval, and the cost of the laser engraver and cutter is $6,396.25 and will be funded out of the CTIC. It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the purchase of the laser engraver and cutter for Burroughs High School Engineering Technology CTE pathway as presented.
Move recommended action.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from members of the board or members in the room? Any questions or comments? Somebody please start saying.
Said I want.
Seriously.
Go Vista and you can
Being
play
no one
in
wishing to
the well.
address the public? I'd just like to comment that I think it is really exciting that these kinds of things are being able to provide for our students. Obviously opportunities that will help moving forward if they choose. Or as I was told one time, they said, you know what, one of the values of the courses that give you exposure to the trades can be just as valuable to show you as what you don't want to do. So whatever way it goes, it's got value, and it's tremendous that our kids have these kind of opportunities. So I will call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is unanimous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That brings us to item 3, draft plan presentation, STEPCO. And ladies, you're welcome to stay with us all evening. We'd love to have you here, but if you're looking for a quiet way to speak out, we will allow you that opportunity.
Have a great night.
You too. It's all you.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. On July 12, 2021, Assembly Bill 130, Education Finance Education Omnibus Budget Trailer Bill, was approved. AB 130 provides $1.5 billion with a B to support the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant for California's K-12 schools. The local plan must be heard a public meeting of the governing board of a school district before its adoption in a subsequent public meeting on or before December 30, 2021. Sierra Sands Unified School District's EEF block grant apportionment is $1,363,767. The district may use educator effectiveness funds for any eligible expenditures from the start of the 21-22 fiscal year through the 2025-26 fiscal year. An annual data and expenditure report will be due each year on or before September 30. A final data and expenditure report will be due on or before September 30, 2026. Any funds not expended by June 30, 2026 must be returned to the California Department of Education. EEF expenditures may be used to support professional learning for certificated teachers, administrators, paraprofessional educators, and certificated staff. Funds can be expended for any of the following purposes: coaching and mentoring of staff serving in an instructional setting and beginning teacher or administrator induction, including but not limited to coaching and mentoring solutions that address a local need for teachers that can serve all pupil populations, with a focus on retaining teachers and offering structured feedback and coaching systems organized around social emotional learning, including but not limited to promoting teacher self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationships, and responsible decision-making skills, improving teacher attitudes and beliefs about oneself and others, and supporting learning communities for educators to engage in a meaningful classroom teaching experience. Programs that lead to effective, standards-aligned instruction and improve instruction and literacy across all subject areas, including English language arts, history, social science, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and computer science. Practices and strategies that re-engage pupils and lead to accelerated learning. Strategies to implement social emotional learning, trauma-informed practices, suicide prevention, access to mental health services, and other approaches that improve pupil well-being. Practices to create a positive school, but not limited to restorative justice, training around implicit bias, providing positive and preventing discrimination, harassment, bullying, and intimidation based on actual or language, nationality, race or ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation. Strategies to improve inclusive practices, including but not limited to universal design for learning, best practices for early identification, and development of individualized education programs for individuals with exceptional needs. Education to support implementing effective language acquisition programs for English learners, which may include integrated language development within and across content areas, and building and strengthening capacity to increase bilingual and biliterate proficiency. New professional learning networks for educators not already engaged in an education-related profession. Professional learning network to support the requirements of Subdivision C, instruction, education, and strategies to incorporate ethnic studies curricula adopted pursuant to Education Code Section 51226, ethnic studies curricula adopted pursuant to Education Code Section 51, education and strategies for certificated and classified educators in early childhood education or childhood development. The district's plan identifies professional development for certificated staff in the two broad areas: EEF Area 3, engage students and accelerate learning, including but not limited to the following areas of focus, and this would be our local focus: advancement via individual determination strategies, AVID strategies, professional learning community model to identify essential standards, develop common formative assessments, and to implement and design effective academic intervention and/or extended learning. Response to intervention strategies to identify and support student learning needs through high-quality, evidence-based first instruction, progress monitoring and tiered instruction, California multi-tiered systems of support, universal design for learning practices, culturally responsive teaching, literacy across all content areas, and content-specific areas. And also we would focus on educator effectiveness area 4. Implement social and emotional learning, trauma-informed practices, suicide emotional learning limited to the following areas of focus: culturally responsive teaching, trauma-informed practices and care, restorative practices, student success assistance team best practices, positive behavior intervention and supports, alternatives to suspension, California multi-tiered systems of support, social emotional programs and curriculum, panorama, social emotional and behavioral screening, progressive discipline strategies and systems, school climate, and student engagement. The district's educator effectiveness block grant apportionment is approximately $1.3 million. The district may use EEF for any eligible expenditures in the start of the 21-22 fiscal year through June 30, 2026, and all expenditures may be expended per the allowable use of funds. The EEF presentation tonight is for informational purposes. It's recommended that the EEF block grant be presented to the board for approval at the regular meeting on December 16, 2021. And the draft plan is attached to the board header in the packet in here.
Any questions on that presentation? Thank you so much for the presentation, and we'll be on your agenda for approval.
Mr. Ferris, can I interject? I need to correct an error at the, everything was a little interesting. We started, I forget. Thank you.
Appreciate you calling to my attention.
So, if you don't mind correcting that at the start.
Okay, is there any full inclusion organization here?
I wanted to demonstrate my empathy for everyone.
I appreciate that. I'm feeling better every minute. Okay, so that brings us to item personnel 8.1, certificated personnel.
Oh, having fun.
Just a rule.
Well, can we do two?
No, two is a different issue.
Two.
Right.
I want to present two.
Well, you can want to.
Second.
8.1 has been moved and seconded. I'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Johnson? Aye. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself? Aye, it's unanimous. That brings us to 8.2, approval of increased pay rates for daily and long-term substitute teachers. Mr. All.
The recruitment and retention of certificated substitutes is important to the district. Substitute teachers are vital for the appropriate supervision and delivery of instructional services to students in the absence of their regular teachers. There's an ongoing and regular need for a strong pool of substitutes, not just for ordinary qualified absences of our teacher workforce, but also for the professional development opportunities that are made available to our teachers during the workday, or have been. Substitute teachers are not represented by the Desert Area Teachers Association. However, the district and data hold a mutual interest in regularly reviewing substitute pay rates and maintaining competitive compensation within our region. There are approximately 50 school districts in Kern County, with 8 of these districts organized as unified school districts. Sarah Sands is one of 8 in the county. The average daily substitute rate, Sarah Sands is one of 8 in the county. The average daily substitute rate for all unified school districts in Kern County is $150 per day. The average rate for long-term substitutes for all unified school districts in Kern County, including Trona and Charter, is $185 a day. Currently, the Sierra Sands substitute rate is $129 a day, and the long-term substitute rate is $165. For, in parentheses there, for SSUSD retirees, the long-term sub rate is actually $210. It is desirable from a strategic perspective that our substitute rates more closely approach the Kern County mean for unified school districts. As the Indian Wells Valley's largest school district employer, our competitive edge is that we offer many more substitute assignments than any other school district in our area. As a result, qualified substitutes are motivated to work for us due to the quantity of job assignments upon which they can count. Nevertheless, in an attempt to stay close to the county average for compensation for long-term desirability as an employer is beneficial, and the last pay adjustment was approved in 2018. It is proposed that the following new rates be approved and implemented beginning December 16th, 2021. Regular substitute hourly rate from $21.50 per hour to $25 per hour, which would make the daily rate $150. Long-term substitute hourly rate from $27.50 to $31, which would make the daily rate $186. Long-term substitute hourly rate for retirees from 35 hours an hour to $38.50 per hour, daily rate $231. The district pays approximately 21,000 hours annually for subtime at $21.50 per hour. That is approximately $451,500. It would increase to approximately, but considering a small percentage of those hours would be long-term, and there could be a long-term assignment with a new retiree rate, projected difference in annual increased costs is approximately $100,000. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the increased pay rates for daily and long-term presented to be implemented beginning December 16, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from anyone else? And the public? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Mr. Johnson? Aye. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is unanimous. That brings us to item 3, incentive for early notification of retirement, 21-22.
Incentive for early notification of retirement. In 2009-10, the board approved an increase in the incentive amount to $3,000 for each retiring certificated employee and $1,600 for each retiring classified employee who declared in writing prior to a specific date in January or February their intent to retire. This provided the district with valuable information in determining staffing needs for the upcoming school year. District current considerations. District would like to offer the incentive for early notification of retirement program from 2021-22 to assist with identification of staff needs for the 2022-23 school year. The district is proposing to continue with its offer in the last few years in the amount of $3,000 for certificated employees and $1,600 for classified employees who submit their written retirement notice no later than February 11, 2022. The retirement window or effective date of retirement for this incentive is as follows. Certificated employees between January 1st, 2022 and August 1st, 2022, and classified employees between February 1st, 2022 and August 1st, 2022. Employees must be eligible to retire under STRS or PERS in order to receive this incentive. All employees eligible to retire will receive a letter via district email during the week of December 17th through December 30th, 2021 from Human Resources Department describing the early notification of retirement incentive program. Management wishes to emphasize its belief that the proposed incentive has absolutely no impact or desired impact on an employee's decision to retire. The district is making no attempt in any way to imply that we're offering an incentive or award for retirement. Given the statewide shortage of highly qualified teachers, we prefer to keep all our teachers. This proposed incentive is merely focused on obtaining early notification by eligible employees of their personal decision to retire. Since the district plans to recruit new teachers from March through May, it will be extremely valuable to the process of hiring the best and brightest with the knowledge of what positions will be vacant due to retirement. Without an incentive to notify early, the district anticipates the probability that eligible employees may notify the district of their decision to retire as late as June, which would negatively impact our ability to recruit new teachers in the spring. Financial implications. Last year, the district paid 5 classified notification incentives and 8 certificated notification incentives for a total cost of $32,000. The exact fiscal impact is unknown, but it is projected that we will have a similar number of employees who take the notification and incentive. Most important for the district, the benefits associated with management of staffing in the current statewide environment in which districts are experiencing shortages of qualified applicants. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the incentive for early notification of retirement for 2021-22 in the amount of $3,000 for certificated, $1,600 for classified who declare his or her intent to retire in writing within the applicable retirement window of no later than February 11, 2022.
Move the recommended
Been moved by Mr. Rockwell and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members?
The only comment I'll make is that Mr. Ald is lucky that Dr. Ostash beat me into submission.
Yeah.
I seem to recall a lot of that rationale that was just read.
I was gonna say, I think that pretty comprehensive report there.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Out of curiosity, how long have we been doing this? At least.
Longer
I
than
would
that.
say at least 15 years.
Really?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, we increased the dollars maybe
Yeah.
7 years ago or something.
Tim, were you saying something?
No, I was gonna say at least as long as Kurt's been on the board, because he brings it up every year.
15 years then.
All right,
Man, it's a tough crowd.
then I will call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye, it is unanimous. That brings us to concurrent item under personnel one.
Move 2122.
Sorry.
Okay, been moved and second. Any questions or comments? No, call for the roll call vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye, it is unanimous. That brings us back to general administration. Gifts to the district. Mr. Rockwell?
Can I borrow your book? Because my technology is failing me as
My
well.
technology failed also.
I'm gonna borrow the book too, when it's my turn.
Are we broadcast, are we still live over here?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's
Let's
take
see.
it on the main one.
The following gift was received. Chloe Silas donated a Mirage trumpet with an estimated cash value of $150 to be used by the music department at Murray Middle School. Donations provide support to the district and have a positive financial impact. I move that we accept the gift as described and send an appropriate letter of appreciation.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Kurt Rockwell?
Aye.
Mike Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye, it is unanimous. Brings us to item 2, nominations for representatives to the California School Boards Association. Dr. Oswald.
Yes, thank you. The CSBA Delegate Assembly is the primary policy-making body of the California School Boards Association. It sets the general policy direction for the association that represents California's school districts and county offices of education. Delegates fulfill a critical governance role by communicating the interest of local boards to CSBA's Board of Directors, Executive Committee, and staff. Delegates give policy and legislative direction through the adoption of the policy platform every 2 years and the adoption of other policy statements of the association. They also speak on issues and provide direct advocacy on behalf of the association. Delegates play an important communication and support role within their regions, and they also elect the association's officers and board of directors. Nominations for representatives to the Delegate Assembly are being accepted until January 7, 2022. There are 3 delegates whose term expires in 2022 in subregion 12B, of which Sierra Sands is a part. And each board may nominate as many individuals as it chooses within its geographical region or subregion. The 3 positions which are up for election are currently held by Cynthia Brakeman of Kern High School District, Pamela Jacobson of Standard School District, and Lillian Tafoya of Bakersfield City School District. Delegates serve 2-year terms beginning April 1, 2022 and March 31, 2024. No financial application, and the board may, if it wishes, nominate 1 or more individuals to serve on the CSBA Delegate Assembly. Permission must be received from an individual to place his or her name in nomination.
Anyone? Hearing none, we'll move to item 3, designation of date for the organizational meeting of the board. Dr. Ostash.
Education Code Section 35143 requires that each school district hold an annual organizational meeting within a 15-day period commencing on December 10 and concluding on December 24, 2021. Unless otherwise provided by rule of the governing board, the date and time of the annual organizational meeting shall be selected by the board at a meeting held prior to December 10. According to the annually adopted meeting schedule of the board, the regular meeting within the designated period is scheduled for December 16, 2021. no financial implication. And I recommend that the board designate December 16, 2021 at 7 p.m. as the date and time for the organizational meeting of the board.
We have a motion.
Move recommendation.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Excuse me. Seeing none. We'll call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott? Myself, aye, it is unanimous. Brings us to Construction Administration, authorization of an agreement with VSK for inspection services associated with earthquake repairs to the Sierra Vista Educational Center. Mr. Coy.
On April 15th, 2021, the board approved an agreement with several companies to perform earthquake repairs to the Sierra Vista Education Center exterior canopy. Construction began on this project in May of 2021. For some portion of the work, it was necessary to contract for inspection services. The original estimate associated with these services was $9,984. Therefore, board approval was not required to proceed with the services. During the course of the repairs, the county planning department increased the scope of the work to require full-time inspection services for a portion of the project. This increased the total cost of the inspection services such that board approval is now required. The cost for this amendment is $13,616.26. It is anticipated that 75% of this funding will be reimbursed by the California Office of Emergency Services. The remaining 25% will come from Fund 40 Capital Facilities Fund. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board authorize the district to approve an agreement with VSK for inspection services associated with earthquake repairs to the Sierra Vista Education Center.
Move the recommended action.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Looks like no. Thank you. I will call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye, it is unanimous. That brings us to item 2, authorization to approve an agreement with West Coast Air Incorporated and for its design for pre-construction services for HVAC upgrade.
The American Rescue Plan Act, ARP, signed into law on March 11, 2021, provided for nearly $122 billion for elementary and secondary school relief fund, ESSER. ARP ESSER, also known as ESSER 3, funds are provided to state educational agencies in the same proportion each state received Title 1A of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act in fiscal year 2020. The ESSER 3 apportionment for Sierra Sands Unified School District is $13,282,402. The district may use ESSER 3 funds for any eligible expenditures from March 13, 2020 through September 30, 2024. There are 14 allowable uses prescribed for ESSER 3 funds, one of which is inspection, testing, maintenance, repair projects to improve indoor air quality in school facilities, including mechanical and non-mechanical heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, filtering, purification, and other air cleaning fans, control systems, and window and door repair and replacement. On March 11, 2021, the board approved resolution number 25, 2021, making the required findings and authorizing the implementation of the design-build project delivery method for HVAC replacement at 4 schools and control system upgrade and air handler repairs at the Burroughs High School Performing Arts Center, and issuance of requests for qualification for vendors interested in bidding on the project. West Coast Air Inc. was selected as the most qualified bidder. On July 12, 2021, the district issued a request for proposal, RFP, for the HVAC upgrade project to West Coast Air. Our current considerations: on September 30th, 2021, the district received a proposal from West Coast Air for HVAC upgrade project. Under the terms of the proposal, the initial contract sum includes the delivery of detailed design and pre-construction services, division of state architect submission, and development of a guaranteed maximum price for the project. West Coast Air will provide a draft GMP for the partnering subcontractors and bidding trades to the district within 30 days after the document submission to DSA. The final contract sum shall be submitted to the district as a GMP 30 days after DSA approval. District staff will bring the final contract price to the board for approval prior to commencement of the contract. In no event shall the final contract price be greater than $5 million. The project will be delivered using a target value design approach. Only upon written approval of the current design phase by the district and reconciliation with the target cost of the work may the design builder proceed with construction. If the project costs trend above the target cost, the design builder will need to perform efforts necessary to meet the project target cost. The initial contract for the project is $420,000. Funding for this project will come from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, CARES, SR3 funding. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board authorize approval of an agreement with West Coast Air Inc. for the design and pre-construction services upgrade.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions or comments, board members? You want me to get it? Yeah, just open the door. I just want to make sure any questions or comments from the member of the public? None? Thank you. Then I will call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Scott? Myself, it is unanimous. That moves us to Ms. Smith. For the Business Administration, adoption of Resolution number 12/2122, authorization for the superintendent to determine the amount of request release of monies in settlement of pending litigation, impounds Fund 77.
So each year, the auditor controller informs the district of potential claims and/or litigation regarding property tax revenues. By resolution, the board of each district is required to either impound or release prior impounds of a determined dollar amount in connection with these contingent liabilities. Council has recently notified the district of an excess amount of local tax revenues in the impound fund, and districts that have excess liability balances are required to release these impounds. Decreasing the balance in the impound fund does not create any financial impact to the district, and the auditor controller will report the amount of excess to the California Department of Education on the P1 1298 report of property taxes to be collected, and the excess will be an offset to the state aid at the P1 apportionment in February. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt resolution number 12/2122, authorizing the superintendent to determine the amount and request release of the monies in settlement of pending litigation as presented.
Have a motion?
Recommended action. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Howe?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Myself, aye, it is unanimous. That moves us to item 2, approval of resolution number 14/2122 to establish temporary interfund transfers.
And this is the approval of the resolution that goes with the public hearing that we had earlier to establish temporary interfund transfers. Background is the same, the current considerations are the same. There is no financial impact to the district. It is recommended that the board adopt resolution number 14/2122 to establish temporary interfund transfers as presented.
I have a motion.
Recommended that second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none, hearing none. Call for the vote. Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Dr. Howe.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Myself, aye, it is unanimous. Okay, now we will temporarily adjourn the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to convene the Indian Kern Schools Financing Authority Board of Directors meeting. The only item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, so if those are accepted as presented, we will adjourn the meeting of the Indian Kern Schools Financing Authority and reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education and move to the consent calendar.
Move entire consent calendar.
The consent calendar has been moved and second. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing, hearing none. Call for the vote. Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Dr. Howe.
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is unanimous. That moves us to future agenda items. Anyone have any recommendations or requests for future agenda items? Hearing none. Go ahead.
So I know things are crazy, and I don't suggest we do it next month or any time real soon, but we did discuss having a discussion in public about the student board members,
Yes.
I believe.
Will we start?
Just want to make sure we don't drop that off the.
I think,
off the
as I
radar.
recall, we're waiting for feedback, aren't we, from the high school on kind of what their vision of what that might look like?
Yes,
That's kind of where,
yes.
okay.
I think we're gonna glean some information in 2 weeks when we go down there to maybe touch bases with some of the people that are putting on
Sure.
or that have the program in place there. That is what we were planning on doing as well.
Just
So
want to.
let's don't lose sight of it.
Yes.
That's all I was
right.
saying.
All right, good point.
Noted.
Future agenda item, but can we look into what's going on with the technology in the building?
Yes, it's on my list.
I was, felt that would probably be.
We reached out,
Understood.
we reached out tonight to the city IT guys too.
And
to address it.
In term, can we get maybe paper copies? Yeah, for all of us, I think that's probably help out. Let's have that backup.
All right. In that case, we will adjourn this meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be December 16th, 2021. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and I apologize for all the challenges in today's event.
We'll be back in
We'll
the close.
continue in the closed session.
Oh, yes, we have to continue. So the board will continue our closed session meeting